Hello everyone, and welcome back to Guild Wars 2, Path of Fire, Section 10, Enemy of My Enemy. So we find our shadow friend. We're like, oh hey, I am alive. Yep, I am alive, and we need to trick the Mordant Crescent into our cause. And like, he just gives me a bunch of information and different tasks we can do to lure out. And I'm like, oh, we can use Sun Spears, lure him out. And he's just like, there's not enough Sun Spears for that. And I was like, who says anything about needing the actual Sun Spears? I can just hang their banners. That'll rile everybody up. So I have to go through and do. This was fairly annoying. To try and get onto all of the rooftops, because like I couldn't easily jump from rooftop to rooftop. Like, I would jump over the mark I needed. Very annoying. And essentially you just had to springer your way up to all of the different banners and switch the banner out, and then that was all in the little town. And you can see I hit my poor Springer's head on a whole bunch of stuff all the time. And while I was here, I was doing the heart stuff too, like beating up bees nests or fixing drywall and beating up spiders and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it's just a matter of, I mean, some of it, I think there were pathways and stuff that I was just not looking for, because I'm like, oh, this is gotta use my Springer. It's all on brand. It's all a Springer. So yeah, it was just, again, it was just one of those little tasks that you had to go around and do just to help set up the storyline. There were a surprising amount of banners. Surprising amount of banners. There was one I struggled to get to, and other people were also struggling to get to. It was the one on this building, because like we were all just kind of like, how do we get there? And as I'm running around, you can see a bunch of other people like running in and around too, like looking up at this building. Like, okay, good, I'm not the only confused one. So I was kind of doing other tasks too while I was in the area to kind of see if I could see somebody else reach that banner. But I found a different banner to go and do. So then I was like, I win. I didn't have to get that banner, which I don't honestly know if they truly wanted you to get that banner. I think that banner was supposed to not be gotten. At least not at this part of the story with the mounts that you have. So then we had to move on to our next little thing where we had to go and we had to change something out here too. And I know I wasn't the only one doing it. There were other people doing it too. It's always fun to know that other people are doing the storyline and stuff alongside with you. Oh yeah, we had to do the banners out here as well at their little encampments around the area, which were surprisingly, they weren't that far, but this is why they gave you the mounts, right? Is because it is actually a walk, and they realize like, oh, we're making you walk a super long way, like you probably need a mount or 7. So we do get all of the banners swapped out, and we rile everybody up. we rile them all up, and they all want a piece of the sun spears or something. Then we had to go, we were luring out the Archon. That's what we wanted to do, is we wanted to lure out the Archon. And so we head to the Bone Palace to take on the Archon. And this is such an interesting area. It's crazy. So we're off on our way there. I only got lost like twice. So we start the instance and we meet up with our companions and we're like, okay, we're gonna defeat the Archon. And I didn't realize our plan, I don't know why I didn't realize it, but our plan was to like take on his appearance. Like, we were going to defeat him and we were going to pose as the Archon. That's our plan. So we do that and we defeat him, and he wasn't the most challenging of bosses to defeat. And it was nice because we had Canuck, Casimir, and Ritlock all back. It wasn't like a split team effort anymore. So we go through, and you have to, like, if you interrupt him draining a minion, it stuns him and you can just kill him really easily. So there was at one point where I was kind of like, I was still shooting at him or whatever, but I was kind of just waiting for him to summon minions and take out the minions so that he would be stunned and Ritlock could go ham on him. Ritlock does a lot of damage if you actually let him, like, just go to town on someone. I mean, Canuck does too, but, like, Ritlock has more mobility than Canuck does. It seems like Ritlock has more mobility than Canuck. And Casimir, Casimir's illusions were actually helpful. They were actually distracting a bit so that I didn't have to die quite so much. And she was actually around to, like, help get me back up if need be. So then he started this charging thing and more minions being summoned, and I could just turn myself invisible and heal up a little bit and let them handle it. And then it's nice having companions to distract the boss people, versus having to do it all by yourself. Even if it's just them not doing a lot, but they did a fair amount in this battle. They were actually very useful for this battle. Sometimes they're annoying, sometimes they're in the way, but not this time. Even Casimir was, like I said, sometimes it's hard to see what Casimir is actually doing, because, and I've learned some of that is just the mesmer in and of itself, but we're actually seeing illusions from her, and the illusions are actually, like, doing something versus, and, like, distracting and being useful versus just, like, running around in the outskirts. And, like, she's actually doing enough that she gets focused once in a while. And, like, when she actually was getting focused, I was like, oh, so you are actually doing damage, like, you are being useful, okay. Because when they first introduced her and, like, the Living World and even into Heart of Thorns, she seemed more supporty And this time around, she seems a lot more aggressive and a lot more, I'm going to help you take them out, which is nice. She's not just like on the outskirts of the fight, and you can actually see what she's doing. So then she transforms us into the Archon and his entourage, essentially. And I get to go convince all of the Morden Crescent to give me their army. And obviously, like, the lower down they are in, like, the army, the more there's like, oh my god, the Archon. But obviously, like, the generals we had to, like, convince, like, yep, we're the Archon, like, you're gonna give me your army, like, I can't believe you're questioning the Archon right now. So this first general was just like, yeah, sure, like, you can have my army, no problem. She didn't make us, like, work for it at all, but the other two that we had to go talk to and see, they were being a little bitchier about it. So the first one we talked to, it wasn't that he was bitchy about it, it was that he was like, no, I can't leave my encampment, like, I'm watching this area, like, if I leave, the Forged are gonna run rampant, like, I can't leave this area, like, this is a portal for, like, them, like, this is, no. And I'm like, as the Archon, I'm like, why didn't you go in there and destroy the portal? And he's like, I have trainees, this is a training camp, like, I can't do that, like, that's not possible. And I was like, watch this, asshole. Hold my beer. And I couldn't take my companions, even though they were all like, let's go, let's do it. I'm like, no, like, I gotta earn his respect, like, I gotta show him that I can manage minions, trainees, as they're calling them, and beat up this poor, like, I have to go do this by myself. I have to take the trainees and do it. So that was an interesting quirk, because, like, I don't, Path of Exile, I think, is the only game where I've really, like, toyed with, like, the necromancy minion type of powers at all. Like, that's not something I've really done in any game, let alone, like, Guild Wars. Like, I've pretty much just done my thief and my ranger. So on our journey to the training camp, we talked to one of the order, and she's like, just keep in mind that Joko's the ruler here. Like, it's not, you can't just run your way in here and change everybody's way of life. Like, this is their structure. Like, it's an honor to be chosen to be reanimated, essentially. I'm gonna call it reanimation. I don't remember what they call it in here. But essentially, it's an honor, and, like, they live side by side. So we go see the troop marshal. Anyway. We go see the troop marshal, and it's fine. Like, it's funny because, like, my character gets to be like, I give zero shits. Like, I'm talking to the troop marshal now. Like, fuck off. And so, yeah, he tells us, like, no, like, I can't leave my post. Like, I'd love to help, but no. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go do it, and then you can come help me. You won't have an excuse to be a coward. Like, straight calling him out. So, I didn't realize at first, like, I could switch back to my weapons, and I was trying not to initially. I was like, nah, I'll just use the minions, it'll be fine. Which for the most part, it was. Once I got the hang of using them and like what I was supposed to be doing with them, it worked out pretty well. Like I had to, there were a couple of, like around the portal, especially like I didn't realize how beneficial it was to send them and have them blow themselves up. That saves you so much time. It saves you so much time to send the minion in first and have them blow stuff up. That does so much damage. So much damage to whatever it is. Like, there were people I was legit struggling with and like died to, and I went back in and I was like, okay, this is what I can do with the minions. I'm gonna try it. And I tried it and I'm like, oh my god, if I had just done this from the beginning, like 1,000 times easier. Like with this part here, if I had sent a minion in over there and blown up, it would have been fine. I chose to use my bow because I didn't really... What's a minion bomb gonna do? That was my mindset. I'm like, a minion bomb's not gonna do anything. A minion bomb is there to be a distraction. I wasn't thinking it was going to be devastation. And it's devastation. No, the worst part is that I would fall off like the ledges, because we know how I am with ledges. You give me a ledge, I'm gonna fall off of it. That's just how I am. So I would attract extra bad guys because that's who I am as a person. I'm sorry. I think it's hysterical how I have no balance in real life and like my balance in the game is atrocious. So initially I go in and I try to fight this dude. He sets up turrets. He's a pain in the butt. There's another dude behind him that's helping him. Also a pain in the butt. Instantly lose most of the minions. Like, it's a whole ordeal. I flee because I'm great at fleeing. And I'm trying to just take them out best I can between the bow and the swords or daggers and everything. And did not work. It did not work. So I'm like, okay, new plan. How do we do this? I have the minions. I can't just send them into their deaths. That doesn't work. How else can I do this? I honestly don't even know how I lived to be that long, to be honest with you. So they give us a fair amount of minions every time you die. Thankfully, they're like, oh, haha, start over. And like once you defeat them in an instance, they're defeated. So that's always nice. But we go through and we end up with like 7 minions. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. So now I'm like, okay, let's try this. And the first minion just trashed the first dude. And then 2 minions and that dude was trashed. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then we go and we beat up the portal and mission accomplished. And I'm just like, I could have just had all of you fuckers blow yourselves up and just been done with this in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Like, so yeah, we impressed the troop marshal, which I mean, and now we were like, now you have no excuses, coward. Now you have to come see us. Ha 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 ha. You have to come help us. So then we have to go see the Beastmaster. Dude, I want to know how my people always get there before me, but then I'm like, I'm terrible at navigating. So they go straight there, and I'll be there whenever I get there because I have no navigation abilities. So I get there, and Casimir's like, those two already went in because they wanted to be over and done with the disguises. So I go and pretend to rip them a new asshole. And I'm like, I can put you back in the graves I pulled you from. Which all of my companions thought that was hysterical. But the Beast Marshal is like, yeah, I get it and will help you, but like, these are trained like specialty units. Like, you can't just command them. Like, that's not how this works. Like, you're gonna have to prove to me that you're capable of handling these troops. Like, you're gonna have to earn their respect, my respect. Like, you can't just roll in here and assume you know what you're doing. So he sets up a task where we have to catch a monster thing, and you do that by harnessing the power of other creatures around you. So you harness the power, you speed up, you're faster, and then you can catch the creature. And once you catch the creature several times, you win. Essentially, you've impressed them. So it took me a little bit to get it. Like, this is the goofiest of the mechanics they've thrown at me so far, and I was kind of a little like, oh god, like, if they're teaching me how to do this, like, I'm gonna run into an issue with the battle. Like, that was my thinking. I was like, oh, they're clearly introducing this to me, like, for the battle or whatever. But then we get there and we catch the crab guy, and we speak with the Beast Marshal, and he's like, alright, cool, like, yeah, we'll follow you into battle. And that's the end of this section, Enemy of My Enemy. Things are heating up. Things are getting fun. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.